Let's get our guest speaker up here. He's not a stranger to us. He lives in San Diego, California. He's been taking his daughter around to various colleges to look at seeing which one she wants to go to. He's a full-time daddy, and I love his story. But he's also does a great training on how to build the business. Without further ado, from San Diego, California, Regional Director, Mr. Julian Lewis. Sir, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Thomas. It's great to hear your voice. It's great to see you. It's great to see all of you. I'm excited to be with you all today, and I'm really looking forward to getting into the training. But before I do, I just want to just show my appreciation for Mr. Thomas, not just as a senior vice president, but just as a man. The type of person he is, he gives, and he gives without he gives without people watching. And this is what I love about him. It's not about nowadays. You'll see, because of social media, you'll see people, they do something out of the kindness of their heart. They always videotape it so that they can post it and show others that they're doing it. And what I've noticed about him, it's not about who sees it. It's just who he is as an individual. So I thank you for being a friend. I thank you for being a mentor. And I thank you for helping me and my team and all of ACN to have success, because some SVPs, they ride off into the sunset and they don't do much, but you work like you're an executive team leader, and to be able to be side by side someone like that is special. So if you get to work directly with Mr. Thomas, don't take that for granted. And ladies and gentlemen, just to give you a brief background on myself, so we're not just complete strangers, like, who is this guy? My name is Julian, and prior to getting involved with ACN, I was a senior systems engineer. I was working roughly 80 to 90 hours a week at my job. You know, I was taking 50 to 60 flights a year. I really had no time for myself or my family, but good fortune came my way. I was introduced to this business by my first mentor in this industry, who shared with me a system that allowed me to replace my six-figure income and enabled me to come home to my family. But most importantly, I was able to become the type of father that I felt my daughter deserved, which was present. Speaking of which, Mr. Thomas, this past Thursday, on the 12th, my daughter turned 17 years old. And we were out to dinner this past weekend, and she was laughing when we were talking about something that happened at school. And she said, you know, I was in my government class, and she said, Daddy, it's funny because government, you know, it's all seniors in that class. And so usually my birthday isn't always before the end of the break. But my birthday came after the break this year. So I was in class on my birthday, and, you know, they asked me, how old am I? And I said 17. And the class was like, what? You mean that? And then her friend next to her said, you mean to tell me you've been 16 this whole time? And because, you know, she's a year younger. And she was cracking up. And I want to tell you, Mr. Thomas, it was great to see her. We went to this place, those of you that are familiar in San Diego, it's called Obi Noodle House, and it's great. It's incredible. But one of the things I love about it is the music. So it has the best playlist, from like music that Mr. Thomas, I promise you would love, from the era that you know is music, right? And then they have great music from the 80s and 90s, some of the classic hip hop, and then they all mash it up together. And to see my daughter sit down in her element and just start bumping her head and enjoying herself, and seeing her become a young lady, man, I was fighting back tears because it was so beautiful. But the real reason why I was fighting back tears, ladies and gentlemen, it's because this business allowed me to be there for her entire life. And to see every single change really came from me making a decision. And that's what I want to talk about today. We're going to talk about making a decision to be a business owner. Now, some of you might say, well, I already made that decision. I'm an IBO, I'm an independent business owner. But the truth is that's only a title. It's only a label. You don't step into truly being an entrepreneur, truly being a business owner, until you decide to take responsibility for your own business. okay? And so I want to start with that. So the lead that I was talking about, Mr. Thomas, I typed in the chat that I got a lead, and so I want to share with you what happened. So, you know, I thought about this a lot, and during the pandemic, I thought about this as well. But when I go out, I go out and I do my errands. So I'll go just like everyone else. I go to Costco, go to Trader Joe's, Sprouts. I'll go to the places that I need to get my groceries and my produce, and everything's organic. So you can't just go once for the week, things like that. So, but I was at Costco. And when I go, you might wonder why I'm dressed like this. When I go to Costco, or I go out, I go like this. I want to show you guys this. I can't really, but I'm in workout attire, but it's nice workout attire. You might think, well, what is that all about? I'm 42 years old. Most people during the day can't wear this. You know what most people have to wear? Their job what's it called? Outfit, or their job disguise, or whatever you want to call it. They have to wear their work clothes, right? They have to wear their work clothes. Yeah, their uniform. What are those things you wear in Halloween? What are those called? Does anybody know? On Halloween? Yeah, costume. There you go, Melissa. They have to wear their work costume. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. But here, when I was dressing up, you know what I realized? I was blending in. I looked just like everyone else. But I stick out like a sore thumb. And I ran into a friend from high school, and she's a teacher. And she asked me, she said, what do you do that you get to, when I see you, you always get to look like that? You always look comfortable and relaxed. And I said, well, I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. And she's like, man, you need to tell me a little bit more about this. And so we exchanged information. And so one thing I realized is this, is that if you can understand, listen to me carefully, if you can understand what people desire, and you can show up in an authentic way representing that, people are going to recruit themselves. People are going to ask you. See, when I was younger in this industry, I had to dress up because I looked like a baby, and I probably looked like a kid in college. But now it's different. And so it's so much fun to show up authentically. I was just talking to Brian Baker about this, and be able to peak and not have to come off forced or pressured or salesy, but just be able to show up with the energy that I want, be excited about life, and be attractive because other people don't have the opportunity to be in leisure. And I just wanted to throw that out there just to think about that for a second. So, but when we talk about taking control of your business, I want to show you a few things that I think are amazing. But the first thing I want to show you is a quick video by one of my favorite mentors of all time, Mr. Jim Rohn. And this video, he talks about something. So the video is pretty long. You can watch the video yourself. But I'm going to do the very end of the video because there's something that I definitely want all of you to see. So
you say, well, if I had a big organization, you know, I'd really run it with a strong hand and I'd be a fabulous leader. But I've only got a few and I don't know where they are. See, that's not going to work. If you wish to preside over riches, you must start when the amounts are small. Someone says, oh, if I had a fortune, I'd really take good care of it, but I've only got a paycheck, I don't know where it goes. See, not knowing where it goes disqualifies you now for presiding over the fortune. We've all heard that, right? I don't know where it all goes. You ever hear that expression? Oh, we'd love to have you run the company. You don't know where it all goes. Somebody says, it just gets away from me. Oh, we'd love to have you run the world, right? It just gets away from you. Somebody says it's only pennies and it's only a few. Here's where you begin to qualify for abundance and riches and greatness and respect, is to be disciplined when the amounts are small. Someone finds it unique, right, that this many people would come and hear what I've got to say for a whole weekend. But this is not where I started. I started with just a few. But I was so on fire with the few, trying to translate for them in my awkward ways back then what had happened to me. My life got changed, my income got changed, my health got changed, everything got changed for the better. And now I've lived the most extraordinary life. But it started with my passion for just a few, to translate for just the few. Someone says, well, there's just a few here. You know, does this meeting matter when there's only a few? And the answer is yes. Jot this down. You never know who's in the audience, whether it's a few or 1,000 or whatever. But you got to be faithful when there's just a few. Tell your story when there's just a few. Be just as passionate about ideas that can change someone's life when there's just a few. Now you begin. You're not fully qualified, but you begin the qualification to someday speak to many. Someday preside over a vast crowd. Someday be the manager or the leader of millions. It starts in those early days to deserve it. Okay.
All right. You guys like that video? Cool. So it starts with you, and started thinking about something at the beginning of this year. And those of you that know my journey with fitness, I did a lot of crazy stuff. But what I never did over the last 10 years is worked out in the gym. Now, when I played football, I had to work out in the gym. I had to lift weights. So I'm not a stranger to it. But when I was younger, and even older men, what I've noticed, even some of the older men, they'll go and they'll try to lift more weight than they actually should because the ego gets in the way and their form is off. And that's usually how you get hurt, right? And so when I went back into the gym, I decided this year to start lifting weights again on top of the high intensity interval training that I do. And I started out by saying, I'm not going into the gym with an ego. I'm going to start out with the smallest weight that seems a little heavy to me, where I can keep perfect form in every single workout that I do. And to someone else, they might look and say, okay, this guy, obviously he's muscular. What is he doing? I don't care. My goal isn't to look like I can be strong. My goal is to be insanely strong. And so the same thing happens with your business. The way you treat the few is going to condition you on how you treat the many, if you even get there. And so you might be thinking, like Jim Rohn said, well, I only have a few, it's no big deal. It is a big deal. You may have heard how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you're not doing the things with form when they're small, you won't be able to keep up when they're large. If you're not helping your people to go through a launch, to get qualified, to get through a PBZ or a PBR, to enroll their business partners who want to join and help them to get customers from that particular meeting, to then enroll and promote them to a training. If you're not following that system with the few, how can you expect to scale a massive organization when you have many where you're getting the results? Because here's what will really happen. If you're not paying attention and you're not doing this with correct form, you're going to hurt yourself. And I mean in the business, you're going to hurt yourself. Because what's going to happen is, you know what feels what feels terrible? You know what feels worse than not having anybody join your team? Having a lot of people join your team and no one gets qualified. You get anxiety. You get to the point because you see people leaving, people quitting, people dropping out, people not making money. And if they're not making money, guess who else isn't making money? You. So you have to understand when you're brand new to have a senior vice president vision and a senior vice president mindset, and understand that this is my organization, even if it's one or two. Because when you can see it that way, then you can serve your team and you can realize the responsibility in doing it the right way. And what's great about the times that we live in now is doing it the right way has become a lot more simple for people to be able to accomplish. And so what I want to do is I want to show you, I want to bring you to a site that you may never have seen before, but I want to bring you there just in case. And so this site has changed the game for the business. See, when I was brand new, I had to figure out how to get my customers. And then I had to figure out what this whole idea of a launch was. I had to print it out and read it and say, okay, I go through these steps with someone to help them to get qualified. I teach them about the huge favor. Okay, I got that, check. I tell them to schedule a meeting, check. I had to do all those things. And then if they didn't listen, when we're in Saturday training, the leader from in front of the room would say all those things. And I would say, see, he's saying the things that I told you, see? And they're like, oh, I get it. It wasn't just from you. Yes, I'll do these things. But now, it's so simple. Because everyone can actually just go to acencompass.com and get everything they need. And they made it simple where all you have to do, you don't even have to be smart. You just go to AC and Compass and go where it says start here. You say, okay, well, start here usually means this is where you start, right? So let me click that button and let me just start here. And so when you do it, ACN is laid out for your IBO journey every single step. And you can go, look, you don't even have to go and confuse yourself. It's not a puzzle. You don't have to go find step 4 or step 3. It's all laid out in front of you. Steps 1, step 2, step 3. Look at this. If you get confused, they have a map at the bottom that says to start at step 1 and go all the way to the right until you get to step 6. And if you look at this, this is really awesome. And step 1 is just a welcome from Mr. Gray Provenzano, and he welcomes you to the company and your journey. And look, I'm messing up. Step 2. Step 2 is all about what? Understanding the compensation plan, right? And it's broken down by the best trainer in ACN, Mr. Tony Kupas. And then let's take a look. What do you think step 3 is? Step 3, once you know about the compensation plan, it's time to get moving. And so it's about what? Acquiring customers. That's how you get qualified, isn't it? Learning how to acquire customers, learning the process, learning the value in the system that we use, and asking for a huge favor instead of trying to sell a service. And then step 4, what do you think step 4 is? Check this out. Building a team. Now build a team so you can have leverage and get overriding residual income. So all of these steps, what they do is they help you to be successful in the business. They give you a rock solid foundation on what it is that you need to do so that you don't have to be confused. And if you have an absentee upline, then you can have ACN support you by going through all of these steps. But it doesn't stop there, because look at this. You have every single product that we offer. If you're one of those people that needs to know all the information about all the information, you have every product there, and you can learn every detail, videos, YouTube style training to share with you exactly how to do it. People ask questions. Well, what do I do if I have missing customers? It's right there. It teaches you how to do it. Find your missing customers, flagging your account, figuring out how this works. Everything is here. All you have to do is click, and then you'll understand. But once you understand, this is the part I need to talk to everyone about. Once you understand, it's about execution. And here's where people get tripped up. People want to feel confident before they start. That's not how confidence works. Confidence starts with another C letter, another C word, courage. And courage is doing something even though you're scared. And the only thing that allows me to start with courage, the only thing that allows me to move forward with courage, even though I have fear, there's a few things that allows me. Number one, a strong reason why. Some of you heard when the why is strong, the how becomes easy. What I found is that when the why is strong enough, the how becomes irrelevant. I'll prove it to you. I had someone in my organization telling me, they don't know how they're gonna do this business. They don't know if they're gonna be able to do it. And I said, well, what if you don't know how to do it? You've never known how to do it. You're telling me you won't be able to do it? She said, yes. And I said, okay, let me ask you a question. You're a single mom, you have 2 sons. If you couldn't pay the rent this month and you haven't been able to pay the rent for several months, and the landlord said that they were going to evict you if you don't pay the rent this month, I said, what are you going to do? She said, I'm going to pay the rent. I said, how are you going to pay the rent? You don't know how to pay the rent. You didn't pay the rent last month. You didn't pay the rent, but before that, how are you going to pay the rent? She said, I don't know, but there's no way that I would have my 2 sons out on the street. I would figure it out. See, that tells me that when the why is strong enough, the how becomes irrelevant. And so a lot of you don't have a strong enough reason why you're doing AC. And so you got to reassess your reason why and get serious about that in 2023. That's the first thing. The second thing that allows me to have courage even when I'm afraid. The second thing that allows me to have courage when I'm afraid is realizing that the fear is never or that actually doing it is never as bad as the fear of doing it. This is something that I know. Doing it is never as bad as the fear of doing it. And so if I have a strong enough reason why, and I understand the truth about fear, then I can lead into action. And lastly, an awareness. Here's an awareness that doing it messy in the beginning, but at least doing it, will lead me to doing it sophisticated, faster than someone who's trying to wait until they're good at it before they actually do it. See, another mistake, ego gets in the way. I don't want to do a presentation. I had a doctor in my organization who said, I have a reputation. I don't want to do a presentation until I can master it. And I said, with that mindset, you'll never do a presentation. Because in order to do a presentation, in order to master it, you have to do many. And so it starts with form. All you got to do is be okay with mucking it up, with messing it up. See, if you knew me when I first started, I didn't sound the way I do now. And a lot of people assume when they're brand new that the leaders sounded the way they did when they started. That is the reason why they're leaders. And they make the biggest mistake. And now they separate themselves and they say, the reason why the leaders can is because they're special. They make an impact when they speak. They have a great conversation. They're great storytellers. They're able to move people. And I can't because I'm just me. But what they don't realize is funny. Bill Bailey is talking. Bill Bailey remembers me when I was brand new. I was brand new. He was the one that told me how to launch people. I wasn't able to speak like this. I wasn't able to talk. I was scared to death. I told Bill Bailey, I said, I'm scared. Our upline asked me to do an ETT call. I don't know what to do. I'm scared to death. Why is he having me do this and speak in front of all these people? Because I don't want to mess up their money. That's what I said. He didn't care about how I sounded. He cared about the fact that I actually decided to take a step, and the courage of doing something uncomfortable when you don't know how to do it great. Get this. That courage is attractive. Here's what happens. When someone sees someone doing it, making mistakes, but still winning, you know what they realize? I can make mistakes. And if this guy is winning, making mistakes, then so can I. See, that's the part that we don't get. Our ego steps in and tries to convince us that we are more special than we think we are. So I'm going to prove to your point. How many of you can put raised hands in the chat, or you can raise your hand. I can see everyone. I'm on gallery right now. How many of you have ever thought to yourself, oh my gosh, everyone is looking at me? Has that ever happened? All right, I want you to think about this for a second. Every hand's raised. Keep your hands up. Don't get tired. Keep your hands up. I need everyone to see this. While your hands are up, imagine all of us are in the same room. We're kind of in the same room if you're on gallery right now. If every single one of us is thinking, oh my gosh, everyone is looking at me, then none of us are looking at each other. We're all just thinking about ourselves. Is this true? Who just had a mind-blowing moment right now? Like, wait, what? So that means if every individual is only thinking about themselves, guess who they're not focused on? You. They're not focused on you. You think they are, but they're not. Even in an audience. I spoke on stage at the International, 20,000 people on that stage, in the audience, scared to death, thinking all these people are going to be focused on me. You know what they were focused on? I'm hungry. I want to learn more. They're all me. They're all focused on themselves. I'm sitting there worried. They're thinking about every little word. Well, a good friend of mine, Dr. Anthony Rucker, he's a therapist out here in Southern California. You know what he says? He says, get over yourself. You're not that special. Something similar to what my parents used to tell my brother and I, especially in a Black family. You've heard this. The world doesn't what? Revolve around. You got it, Tommy Clark. The world doesn't revolve around you, right? So if that's the case, and if that is really true, then we're lying to ourselves, and we're convincing ourselves to stay and play small. And staying and playing small will never get you great things. Here's what I promise. If you take great care of the way you start, and you just practice, and you just practice, and you treat each independent business owner like they can go SVP, but work with them like they'll quit tomorrow. By the time you have a massive organization, you'll be able to scale and identify leaders who will be able to follow your example and be able to create the results that you're creating, because you're not perfection, you're authentic, you're human, and they can get behind something like that. So don't worry about being flawed. We all are flawed. And a lot of our flaws are funny to others. And they're the things that really connect us and understand each other with. So with that being said, Mr. Thomas, I appreciate you allowing me to speak to everyone this morning. It's been a while since I've seen some of your faces. Happy New Year to those that I haven't been able to say that yet to. And I'm excited for all of you to win big in 2020.